saw Strange World in theaters and was snoozing.
Yeah. My mom went to see that in theaters when I was home. They're like, "You want to come?" I was like, "Fuck no."
What was Amy's review of Strange World?
I don't think she liked it very much. She said it's boring.
Yeah, it's not very great. You wanna know how it ends?
Yeah, tell me.
They're all it's like that episode of Avatar where it's just a world on the back of a turtle.
Oh, is it actually on a turtle?
Yeah, like a big turtle creature.
Really? What the
Yeah,
hell?
that's what the strange world is. It really is a strange world.
I would have not guessed that. That's really weird.
Yeah, it's strange.
And they stole it from Avatar, so it's not even
Well,
original.
it's not even that. I mean, there's like this old uh, it's there's a John Green book called Turtles All the Way Down, which is like kind of related to it because it's like based off this quote where it's like a world upon a turtle on a turtle's back on a turtle's back, like, and it's just all the way down. It's like this old idea of like worlds on top of it. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like the Men in Black thing to a certain degree as well. It's got a similar esque ending of like the
Uh,
little the galaxy inside of a marble.
Weird. Disney going for it, I guess, with their animation. But
Yeah, wouldn't recommend Strange World, but that's just
oh,
one of many 2022 releases.
it is on Disney Plus.
It is on Disney Plus. So let's get into the episode. Hello, welcome to Kody and Korbin Have a Podcast, the show where two former roommates talk about a new movie every week. But this week we are talking about the year of 2022. Felt like it flew by. I don't know. We got to reminisce a little bit. We got to go back. We're a week into 2023, but let's take a look back. I'm your host, Corbin Zavocal. As always, alongside me, continuing alongside me, is my co-host through 2023. Maybe we'll reevaluate in 2024. But Kody Webb. Kody, how's it going?
We're back, and yeah, I think this is gonna be a great episode. I love just looking back, like the year in review kind of stuff. And oh man, obviously there's been so much release. There's so much to talk about. I mean, we've done a bunch on this show that we've talked about, but we've also done a crap ton that we haven't as well. So it's gonna be fun to look back at that. But yeah, I'm super excited. Got a ton to talk about.
Yeah, I'm really excited as well. I thought this was a really good episode when we did it last year, our like 2021 reviewed. We're pretty much doing the same talking points categories that we did, but we've removed a couple and added some. I wanted this to be a kind of positive experience as a whole. I thought it was a pretty good year in movies, and we'll discuss that at the end of the episode further. But I didn't want to do like what's the worst thing we watched or like what are the things you hate. Like we'll probably talk about it. We'll probably mention them as we go. This was a bad performance here, there, or whatever. But in general, I just wanted to talk about what are our favorite things from the year of 2022. So we're gonna hit all over the place. We're gonna talk about going to see movies in theaters, movies people aren't talking about, performances. Of course, we're going to talk about superhero movies and TV shows specifically, some sports, some YouTube, some podcasts, some other things we just kind of enjoyed, and also, reminisce on this podcast for a little bit. So it's going to be a fun one. Yeah, 2022. Let's start with the heavy hitter, Kody. Favorite movie of 2022? What do you got for me? Let's be honest. I didn't do just one for any of these. I got like top threes, top fives. So tell me, what are your favorite movies of
Yeah,
2022?
I have several picks here. I mean, this was probably the hardest one to choose, and to start off with it as well. I really like, but I had like 10. I think I was going through, which is surprising. I think this year as well. I've watched almost double the amount of movies I watched last year. So that's dope. But I also missed a lot. You've probably seen about double than me still. I still need to catch up. But yeah, my short list. I mean, started out with the Batman early releases in the year. I think they struggle to have that just longevity in remembering it. That's got to be on my list. Nope as well, which I saw again later in the year, but has to make the short list. And then a couple later releases. Knives Out 2, which I don't think I even talked about much on the pod. I think it's better than the original, which I'm
Yeah,
sure.
the timing of when it came out, we didn't really get a chance to
Yeah,
discuss.
but I think all of those performances maybe are a little bit better than the original cast. Both crazy ensembles, and Daniel Craig is great in both. But I kind of like the story better in the second one. It's kind of just more compacted. There's nowhere to run, and I really like the twist in the second act. Obviously, that happens in both films. but I really just like Ryan Johnson's writing. Weirdly enough, I can't believe I'm saying that. So that was on the short list as well.
Have
And
you
then
come around, Kody, officially?
definitely not. I'll never forgive him for what he did to Star Wars. But literally, I think everything else I've seen from him, I really do like. So it is strange my relationship with Ryan. But if I still like saw him on the street, I'd still probably yell at him about Star Wars. And then I'd be like, oh, I love like Looper and all your other stuff too. So kind of a little bit of both. But yeah, me and Ryan still have beef. And then my last one on the short list as well, one I actually watched last night, and me and Corbin were talking about before the pod, All Quiet on the Western Front. Um, this is a dark, dark movie. So that off the bat, if you do want to watch it, just know that going in. But I mean, as far as war films go, it's pretty damn good. The performances as well. Of course, you have the main guy, which I don't know, but Daniel Bruhl, of course, has to be in any German-speaking movie because that's the only roles he does. But he's really good too. And yeah, the themes again, they're dark, but it's really impactful. So I would recommend that one. But
Netflix movie, Kody.
yeah, I think that should get a nom for Best Picture, if I'm being completely honest. And I'd be a little bit peeved if it doesn't.
It'll be
So
interesting to see. Obviously, the original movie won Best Picture all the way
yeah,
back in the 30s
it's a
or maybe
remake.
late
Yeah,
20s. There is a group of the Academy that is like European voters, French, English speaking people in the UK that might appreciate this movie a little bit more. So yeah, there's a chance it could get a push in there. It'd be interesting
I
to
hope it
see.
does. Yeah, just like the cinematography and the performances alone are pretty incredible. So I would think it would get nom for best cinematography too. But I mean, my pick for my favorite movie, again, it was an early release, but it's still stuck around. I don't know if it's your pick as well, but it's still everything everywhere all at once. I mean, what can you not say about this movie that is amazing? The direction, again, the ensemble, the editing. That I think that's the biggest shoe in at the Academy is this movie for editing. And then yeah, like I said, the cast, Michelle Yeoh, perfection. Jamie Lee Curtis might get into which I hope she does. And then the return of I might butcher his name here, but Ki Hoi Kwan, I believe that's right. The kid from the Goonies, obviously Indiana Jones as well. But his triumphant return to Hollywood was awesome to see. And I think he deserves a nom as well because I think he was the standout in that. But he's not even the main focus. I mean, it's obviously a
Mother.
father-daughter story. And the third act sequence alone, if you haven't seen it, you just have to. There's no really good way to describe it. But the also just like the daughter's performance, shout out her as well, Stephanie Hugh. If I butchered that as well, I'm sorry. But her like antagonistic turn was one of the most fun performances of the year, along with Jamie Lee Curtis, kind of having that villain role too. But yeah, like I said, even though it came out early in the year, like still emotionally, it's just resonant with me, and I don't think I can really say about that any other movie. So it's got to be my pick.
It's my number one as well.
Yeah,
And a movie we saw together, Kody, in
yeah,
theaters, which
that's crazy.
I think the only movie this year that we saw together, or at
Maybe
least
that's why it's
watched.
my favorite. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. Special memories. But no, I back at everything that you said. The storytelling of the Daniels in their previous film, Swiss Army Man. In Swiss Army Man, they capture this certain comedic, like certain specific comedic style mixed with just like the most outlandish concepts while combining music and fun little small VFX and putting a story together that is truly about loneliness and what it means to to have friendship and to lose that and to kind of be on your own. They've always been to tap in emotionally even in the weirdest setting like Swiss Army Man. That movie fails to a certain degree because it's almost too weird. This one's also very weird, but I think it has a broad enough appeal and it's reached audiences to a certain degree. And like you said, it's that mother-daughter relationship. And listen, there's crazy stuff. There's hot dog fingers in this movie. There's
Oh yeah.
Raccacoonie, this weird like Ratatouille raccoon ripoff. There's parts of this movie that aren't even in English, which you would think, might cause some people to turn away. But it's so amazing that the impact this movie's had on people because the story is so special and it's so resonant. And, Death and Taxes is, still hits hard. The scene of the two rocks and just not even
Iconic.
spoken dialogue, just text on a screen.
Yeah.
It's a powerful movie. And I don't know if it's gonna have its moment at the Oscars. It would be awesome if it did, and if it won Best Picture, the Oscars have changed in a way that is completely unexpected, and there's no turning back. Parasite was great, but stuff like Nomadland and Coda, like that's still not super outlandish and different. This would be the most crazy genre independent film to ever win at the Oscars, having the international influence as well. It's an immigrant story. I think it would be truly unique. Coming another an A24 movie. I don't know if it's gonna happen though. It's seems unlikely, but it would be really cool if it did.
Yeah, that's a very, I mean, Best Picture this year, I think is unbelievably tough. I don't know if there is like a clear front runner. So maybe that does give it a better chance. But yeah, I mean, like you said, I would be very surprised if it won just because of the story it is and its release date, honestly, too. Like how many Best Picture winners were released before like March or April? I feel like not too many.
It's had a really incredible staying power, and the most impressive thing
Oh
is,
yeah.
Cody, where can you stream this movie at?
Mm,
Showtime,
I
Paramount
actually have no
Plus.
idea.
I
Is it on
guess
Paramount Plus?
it's on Paramount Plus now.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Paramount Plus if you have Showtime. So it's literally just on Showtime. So like think about that. Like it's a movie that's not on Netflix or HBO Max or some of these other Best Picture contenders. Elvis,
Yeah.
Banshees are out there for the people to see. I fear maybe it's peaking a little early, but we're 2 months out.
That's just the release date too. I mean, it peaked very early, obviously. But yeah, that's funny. There's kind of nowhere to watch it. If it was on Paramount Plus, I would say, everybody can have my account. But if it's on Showtime,
I
like I
do
said,
have a I think I have a Showtime account.
I think maybe you had a free trial or something. It may be expired.
I think I had it through Hulu, but then I am no longer a college student, so I lost my Spotify college Hulu Showtime package. I think maybe that's what happened.
That's tough.
Yeah, it is tough. I started with my number one. Now I got to go in reverse and throw in some
Mhm.
honorable mentions. This year, well, okay, when we did this episode last year, I think I said I had seen about 65 2021 releases. And
Mhm.
I was like, I don't think I'll even watch that many 2022 movies next year. Like, I'll probably slow it down, be more selective. I watched some bad movies.
That's capped. How many did you see? 100?
I saw 96
Oh
2022
my God.
releases.
That is wild. Props.
A good chunk of them in theaters. I saw a ton of movies in theaters this year. I did have the benefit of moving to an area and, you know, taking my free time and just going to see movies in theaters. And literally everything was in theaters here. I saw things early. I saw some things that haven't, even been come out in other places yet. I've gotten a chance to see a lot of older movies. My film education has grown a lot this year, and I've been really appreciative. And this is going to be, this is like an important year in my life. I graduated college. I moved to New Jersey. I got to see all these new cool movies. Like, I feel like year is going to be very memorable to me. And I'm going to probably a lot of these films are going to stick with me. Speaking of the movies that I really enjoyed that came out this year, you talked about it. Nope, absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
I actually got to see that with fellow. We're gonna go. We're gonna do theater experiences later. I'm not gonna talk about that.
Don't
Nope,
spoil it.
saw it in theaters twice, but great times.
Love that
Jordan
movie.
Peele getting to make his $100 million Spielberg blockbuster movie. Like, what would you do with that? And I am
Deservedly so
it's
too. Yeah.
awesome. Yes. He's gotten to move up in budget. It's like under $10 million to like $50 million to like $100 million basically in all three of his movies. And it's cool to see the progression. And I hope he just continues to get to do more and more big things. Um, the sequences in that movie, specifically the Gordy sequence and the sequence of the creature vomiting red blood
In the
on the
house.
house,
Yeah.
two of my favorite sequences and maybe any horror movie, probably in any movie this year. Just some really fun stuff. Incredible.
Oh yeah. The visuals, I think. I mean, compared to his other movies, it is similar, but the visuals, just the style in that movie, I think is awesome. The ending as well, with like the monster revealing itself, is one of my favorite parts as well.
Yeah, and the deep commentaries on the extent humans go
Yeah.
to control the natural world, to capture things that are beyond our grasp, and to always go for this, like, shooting for the image. The TMZ character that's only in the movie for a couple minutes is like almost very reflective in the entire themes of the movie. It's this person who, because of the company he works for, has like been put into the position that he will put his life and the lives of others on the line to like capture something and get the shot for the worst of the environment and for the people around it. And the Gordy sequence is obviously very reminiscent. It's kind of the connecting ideal between those two. It in a other movie, I don't know, in other movies in other hands, maybe those two ideas don't connect fully, but I think it actually fits really well in the movie. And yeah, I don't know. Nope is fantastic.
Agreed. Just like the commentary on entertainment is like a running theme throughout. And I feel like that's been hit on a lot this year. There's been a lot of like Hollywood about Hollywood movies. And maybe this one was like one of the more low key ones, but it has like the most to say, which I think is super cool.
That is an extremely good point, Kody. I like that a lot. That is very well
Thanks.
said. Let's move on to my next mention. I got to give shout out Top Gun Maverick.
Oh, come
This
on.
movie is electric.
Overrated.
Cody, it is like the purest movie going experience that I've had in years. Like I can't. I mean, Spider-Man: No Way Home was cool, but it
Mm.
was less about like this like movie that's like awesome. That was more of just like, oh, we're seeing like cool things happening. But this is like pure action, like electric stuff. I saw this movie 4 times this year,
That's
three
crazy.
times in theaters, once at the giant IMAX, once with my parents. Like this movie has defied generations. Unfortunately, Avatar: Way of Water has officially passed it at the box office, but this movie made like $1.4 billion. And while it is, some good old fashioned American wartime propaganda, it's still fucking sick.
Yeah. It's kind of like the movie that low key saved movie theaters too. It really like brought people coming back and back. So
Tom Cruise,
yeah, shout out Tommy.
Tom Cruise, Scientologist, yes, but also a man who understands the movie making business. He takes this very seriously. He lives and dies for the entertainment of people. He really cares. And he held this movie back because he wanted it to come out at the right time. And honestly, it did. And like you said, it saved movie theaters. A movie that has maybe killed movies. No, not Babylon. Babylon's killer in movies, but a movie that I was really excited for. No Baumbach's White Noise, recently released on Netflix. I don't know if you got a chance to check it out or not, Kody.
I've not yet. It is on my list though.
A one that I was very excited about, but there was some trepidations. It's based on a 80s novel that is seen as unadaptable. And maybe it was to a certain degree, but this is also Baumbach kind of reaching into his Spielberg bag a little bit. There's, a big uh, toxic event that occurs with, not to get too much into the plot, but there's a fog of gas essentially, or toxic material that people have to run away from, and it's very
Mhm.
much this like, think Spielberg influence, but not Spielberg, like Super 8, J.J. Abrams, like this big, I don't know, family story of
Interesting.
mixed with the Bombach-esque dialogue, like the quick witty blah blah blah. Everyone's way too smart. These kids are like the geniuses with rhetoric that's gonna blow your mind, and insane characters. And I don't know. For me, I just really enjoyed it because I like Bombach's work. I love Adam Driver and Greta Gerwig, the two stars of the movie. It's got Don Cheadle in supporting performances. The third act loses me a little bit and loses a lot of people, and is kind of surprising. It's basically taken straight from the novel, from what I understand. I did get it for Christmas. I'm looking forward to checking it out, reading it, doing some more reading in 2023. But no, there's a lot of anxiety in this movie about death and kind of that horror of living and being afraid of dying. And I connect with that. And I like movies about that kind of stuff. So I do appreciate that movie a lot. And I would
Yeah,
recommend it to at least give it a shot. It's weird.
I'll definitely watch it. The cast looks great. Do you think Don Cheadle will get an Oscar nom, which you did predict?
I don't know, man. The Oscar acting categories are a little weird this year. Like, there's a lot of great movies, but performances on the fringe. Like, even in Best Actor, I saw someone predicted Tom Hanks, A Man Called Otto, as the fifth spot. I don't think that's going to happen. I hope it doesn't.
Yeah,
But
no chance.
anything could happen, Kody. We'll talk Oscars in the coming months, but Don Cheadle, please, for the sake of my points in my game, sure. I don't know. I don't know if he got a Golden Globe nomination. I was checking those out earlier. I didn't think I saw him. Driver did though, so I don't know.
Nice.
One more that I got to talk about, and this is my second favorite movie of the year. I think it is pretty close to a masterpiece, and it is very close to Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's not far behind, and that's Tar. In terms of a what like movies have always, this is the more traditional, like movies can be fucking great and they can tell amazing stories that seem real and life changing. And Tar is like one of the first movies that I've seen in a long time that feels ever present and like very set in the now. And it feels like Lydia Tars feels like a real person. And there's been people on the internet who've been like, oh, I thought she was a real composer just because of this movie and the way that Cate Blanchett creates that character. And I can completely understand if you like didn't know anything about it and just went and saw this movie. You're like, oh yeah, this is like a biopic, right? Like this is a pretty crazy story. I can't believe I didn't know about it. But it only loses me in some sympathetic feelings towards the end. But as a whole, as a commentary on now and social media and what art versus the artist, and also is it a singular, this idea of a singular artist that creates everything, or is it, is there truly like one person behind these great works, or does it take many people to kind of build, a movie or build a symphony, for example, an orchestra? And also this idea of cancel culture in modern society, which I know can feel a little bit icky, and you think, it could be done wrong in a lot of different ways, but Todd Field very deftly handles the subject matter.
Awesome. And yeah, again, one of the ones I have not checked out yet, but obviously one that's been getting a lot of buzz. So definitely on my list. And yeah, the way you describe it sounds even better. So I'm gonna have to check it out.
I
Where
think
is it streaming at? Do you know?
I don't think it's out anywhere
Not out
yet
yet.
streaming. It's still in some theaters.
Mm,
So I don't know, maybe check in Indianapolis. You can rent it for $6 right now. Hopefully, maybe it's going to be a Hulu or a Peacock. I'm not really sure.
interesting. But yeah, Cate Blanchett, I mean, seems to be the front runner for Best Actress, and it looks dope. So I back it.
Those really are my top five. We'll talk about some more later. But yeah, this was a really solid year for movies as a whole, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to pick obviously because there is so much stuff that comes out throughout the year. But yeah, the longevity for me, that's really the big thing. And I feel like, with movies, it is always a personal connection. So everybody is gonna have a different list. But yeah, shout out everything everywhere all at once. Go to
Yeah. All right. Favorite theater experiences. We've talked about it already. It was cool to see a movie with you, Kody. It was,
yeah,
we don't get to see each other, especially this past year. We haven't seen each other a lot beyond, over Zoom doing these podcasts. So that was definitely a fun one. I think we joked that you sat like a seat away from me. You didn't want to sit right next to me because it was just kind of like an empty theater and you were being weird. You got a hot dog, I believe.
what time do we go to? I feel like it's fairly early.
It was like, yeah, the afternoon, I think, like
3
one
o'clock
o'clock
showing.
maybe. Yeah,
Got
I
a
don't
hot
remember.
dog and a bottle of water. Oh, classic.
Hit the Jimmy Johns afterwards.
True, true. That was a fun one for me. That's
Went and hung
probably
out with Jackson.
my top three. Yeah, that's true. That's true. We did see him that day as well. What a day, honestly. Everything ever all at once and go see Jackson. I mean, you really can't beat that.
First time you had ever met him.
Yeah, true. Well, in real life, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
IRL. What else you got, Kody? Favorite theater experiences?
Yeah, that was definitely one I wanted to mention as well. But the one I am gonna pick, well, I do have something to say at the end about theater experiences, but my pick is The Batman. Again, early in the year, I don't give a shit though. And it really is my pick just because of a couple like particular scenes and like the audience reactions to those and my reaction to those. So obviously if you listen to our episode on the Batman, you heard me talk about the scene where, he's in the dark and you can only see him through the gunshots, which Corbin was not a big fan of. Honestly, visually,
The
that's
Rogue One
probably
hallway scene.
yeah, that's probably my favorite visual moment of the year. And I think in theaters, that was probably the only time where I like audibly like, gave out like a holy shit laugh. That holy shit laugh where like, oh my
I
God,
know it from you,
awesome.
yes.
Yeah. I think that's the only moment all year where I can remember like actually like letting that out. So shout out to the Batman. And then the ending scene as well. Just that in a theater, the flair, the visuals from Matt Reeves, I think is ridiculous in that movie. So yeah, and it even had me like tearing up a little bit in that scene too, which doesn't happen in movie theaters either. So shout out to everybody who's in that theater. It was a packed, opening weekend. And yeah, definitely my favorite experience of the year.
I got a couple honorable mentions. Got a shout out also seeing the Batman. Went and saw that with Jake and Austin, former roommates, former podcast guests, two great dudes seeing the Batman IMAX in Lafayette. Saw Nope over the summer, first time with Carter Sims, our boy, and as well as Christian Steiner, two former podcast guests. That was a fun experience seeing that with them. Got to grab a drink before and then head up to the AMC in Chicago. Got to see a ton of stuff with Mina this year. Just AMC, Puss in Boots a couple weeks early, whatever. We went to see The Whale, where we got to see Darren Aronofsky do a Q&A afterwards. Tantura, this documentary where the director did a Q&A afterwards. Those experiences were all great.
That's awesome. I'm
Probably,
jealous of all of those like Q&As and stuff. I'm unbelievably jealous.
yeah. We missed out on the Guillermo del Toro one for Pinocchio. That would have been fun, but they did one of those in New York. There's a new one coming up. I don't even know what the movie is, but Kit Harington's going to be there, and we were just thinking about maybe going because that kind of be
Nice.
cool. Mina really likes Game of Thrones, loves him in that. Maybe ask about the Eternals.
That's about Blade. I think
Yeah,
he's supposed
ask
to
him
be
about
Blade.
Blade. Is he going to be in Blade? That's a good
Oh,
question.
he should, because he's awesome as Jon Snow. Also, he needs to come back as Jon Snow, but yeah.
In what House of Dragon?
Heck no. They're saying they might
Oh,
do a
they're doing
Jon
a TV
Snow
show. They
spin-off.
are.
Yeah,
They're doing a
yeah.
TV show. Here's the four movies that I enjoyed the most watching in a theater. So, first one, I watched Jaws for the very first time in IMAX.
That's
That
sick.
was sick. That was a
Yeah.
really cool experience. It's one of those things where it's like, there's some movies that now that I'm here, I almost want to be like, they're gonna show it in theaters around me, and I should just wait. So like, I'm glad I waited on Jaws. I'm kind of gonna wait to. I've never seen Titanic either, and I'm gonna go see that in February because they're doing like a re-release. I think that would just be cool to see that in a movie theater for the first time.
It's long.
It is long, yeah, but bathroom breaks. I'll take a bathroom break. It'll be okay.
Jimmy Cameron, though, yeah.
I saw Tar twice. Both times it was just like it's a 2 hour and 40-minute movie, but it does not feel like it. I saw it at Alamo Draft House the first time, and then the Angelica with Mina the second time. Just incredible front to back. There's plenty of stuff to throw on the acting reel for Kate Blanchett, like we said. And then like true theater experiences, like communal experiences. Banshees of Inisherin, people were just laughing. It was a riot. That movie didn't make a lot of money, and now a ton of people are seeing it on HBO Max and are really enjoying it. It was so fun in the theater. Like I thought it was funny, but there was people who thought it was just really funny, and that made it funnier. Just like this is kind of like, oh yeah, we're all having a good time and laughing at this. And then the last one, Barbarian. If you haven't seen the movie, I still don't even want to spoil it because it's
Yeah.
so good. But there's a first to second act turning point that just like that hits of like watching it for the first time in a movie theater was very cool. And everyone just kind of like, what the fuck is happening? And yeah.
Yeah. Those are the best moments, I think, in the theater, too, where it's kind of like you said, just a change in the story or a twist a little bit. Barbarians is the perfect example of that. So, yeah, I bet that was dope in the theater. And that's definitely a movie I'm going to be talking about later. So, shout out.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's move on to our favorite underlooked movies of 2022.
Absolutely. And you know what? A Barbarian is on my list. So
Okay,
let's
go
just
ahead. Let's hear it. I'm curious if you consider this underlooked or not.
I think it is a little bit, just because I didn't hear about it until a little bit after its release, which is probably my own issue. But I think it is the best horror movie of the year. Obviously, I'm no horror expert, which we've covered before, and I haven't seen that many this year. There have been some decent ones, but I think it really is a genre subverter, which we've talked about before. And the performances and the writing in that movie are really cool. And the thing about horror movies, I feel like they never really get the ending right. And I think Barbarian almost has a perfect ending, which is a big credit to it. So I think that's super
It
underlooked
almost gets a little lost in the weeds there, but
a little bit, but it's meta. It knows like the tropes and the similar stories.
yeah, we go full
And
final girl.
I think the ending it's so poetic as well. So sort of like another like kind of mother-daughter relationship. Not really, but still has those themes that are like, oh wow, like these characters are, deeper than I thought a little bit, which is cool. And then my other honorable mention is another one I just recently saw, The Menu. this is honestly like this is one of the more fun movies of the year, which is really weird saying, just because it is super super dark. But I just did not expect anything like this going in. Ray Fiennes is just unhinged in this role, and Anya Taylor Joy is obviously the protagonist. But I mean, is anybody really a protagonist in this movie? Not really. It's kind of just a lot of bad people in a room, and the dialogue I think is really the standout. It's one of the funnier movies of the year. It's just a super dark comedy. And again, the ending is just really good. If you're a sort of like a smaller budget movie, obviously the writing is something to hone in on. But if you get the ending right, I think I've said this before as well, but I think that's the hardest thing to do in film is like stick the ending. And that's what makes movies memorable in my opinion. So shout out the Menu as well. But my pick for most underrated, it's a movie you recommended to me. So shout out Corbin. It's RRR.
On my list as well.
Yeah, this is by far I think the best action movie of the year, and it's not even close. It is a 3-hour foreign film movie, so you need to go that going in, and that sort of like set my expectations of, what the hell is this gonna be? I didn't know what to expect. It's super long. It's nothing at all like I expected. Just the first two character intros of the fire guy and the water guy. That I think those are the best scenes in the movie. The 1 versus 500 guys, the mob fight. That's unbelievable stuff. I don't think we've really seen anything like it since like the Raid and the Raid 2. Just like that hand-to-hand combat style and the camera work is unbelievable, along with the stunt work. And then the tiger fight as well. It's more campy than the 1 versus 500 guys, but I think it's just as good. And the CGI it is what it is, but I mean you can't really do anything with the budget. But just
It
the
looks
action,
pretty good though. Like
yeah,
there's some good stuff. The This movie has music and dancing.
yep,
I don't know. Yeah, it's some of my favorite action. Like you said, I've seen it in a long time.
yeah. The action is really really good, but like it's the story about the relationship between these two guys and the chemistry and the bond like between these two guys is unbelievable. That's by far the best part of the movie, and it has the best action of the year. So shout out RRR. If you haven't seen it, it's definitely one I would recommend to check out. And yeah, I mean it is campy, but it knows what it is. Like this is a perfect meta, foreign film, action film, which again is just not something you see. So definitely one I rec.
The great thing is the three movies you just picked are all streaming. You can see Barbarian, Menu on HBO Max. Go check out RRR on Netflix. They're available to people. Go check them out. And I agree, they're all great movies. For me, some others I wanted to mention Cha Cha Real Smooth, which if you have Apple TV Plus, it's Cooper Raif's second movie that he's directed. It's got Dakota Johnson in it. Just this really sweet story, rom com. It's in my top 10 of the year. I really like the work Rafe's done from Shithouse to this. He's up and coming. He's going to be directing some TV stuff and some other, bigger budget movies in the future. And I think if you want to kind of buy in on some stock early, this is a guy that's going to do some big things, I think. It was a Sundance film, sold to Apple. But yeah, go check that out if you have Apple TV Plus. On top of that, a horror movie that actually did pretty well, so it's hard to say it was underlooked. I think it made like $90 million, like twice what Barbarian did in theaters. But The Black Phone was kind of probably because it came out earlier in the year and there was just not as much to see, and horror fans will turn out for horror if it's there. But no, Ethan Hawke is kind of this menacing, twisted kidnapper in a Richard Linklater movie, kind of directed by Scott Derrickson. It's got this very dazed and confused, but a horror movie feel to it. And it's kind of sick and also available to stream right now. So I would, go check it out. I believe it's on Amazon Prime. If you have Prime, go check out The Black Phone. Puss in Boots, hard to say underlooked because it's really getting a big surge lately. But I think
Yeah.
it's just because I kind of saw it. I got to, for some reason, they were doing a random showing like in November, a month before its release date at the Jersey City Mall, not even in New York. So it was just like one showing on a Saturday and we went and saw it like a month before the release. And so I've been on the Puss in Boots train early. People are really coming around to it. It's really good. It's solid animation. It's got the Mitchell versus the Machine into the Spider Verse, Sony Pictures animation type style that DreamWorks is now kind of leaning into, mixed with like the Shrek traditional aesthetic, and it's really cool actually. Also, just a fun story. We'll talk about it more later, and then also, shout out to Bones and All. Also, kind of hard to say underlooked. It's Timothy Chalamet, America's heartthrob for the younger generation, but him and Taylor Russell, as well as Mark Rylance in a scary role, directed by Luca Guadagnino, with the score from Trent Reznor, Atticus Ross. This movie is sick. Also in my top 10, and it's sick in the sense that it is good, but also sick in the sense that it is a gross cannibal love story, and it's twisted. And talking about favorite sequences, the final scene of this movie is really incredible, and yeah, it's
Nice.
intense stuff. And last one I'll say, a movie that I don't think anybody's fucking seen, is this Lithuanian film called Vesper. That I just saw in theaters randomly because it was showing at a couple places in New York. It's a sci-fi. I've talked about it on the podcast before. It's kind of annihilation esque, but like the whole world is annihilation. It's like low budget VFX sci-fi. This little girl in a dark age future with her dad, who's like sick in bed, but his head is in a robot that flies around and hangs out with her. And it's a
That's crazy.
grimy,
Yeah.
dark world, and it's our future probably.
Hmm. That sounds absolutely bonkers, but it sounds pretty good, honestly. I mean, if it's Annihilation-esque too, it sounds like something I'd like. So yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
rec, I think.
I think you would enjoy it, and it's a top 20 from me. So
Didn't crack the top 10.
didn't quite crack the top 10. I don't know. Should at the end of this, should I do my top 50?
I'd be down. That's actually probably a lot of good movies on that list. So
I think I'm gonna make a TikTok about it. We'll save it for that. All
of the
right,
top 50, how long is the TikTok gonna be?
10 hours. Favorite 2022 performances, and I just wanted to point out at this part of the show, Kody, you like my mug?
I do. Christopher Walken.
I've celebrating the new year with you with a little champagne and orange juice and my Christopher Walken mug. And we're going to talk about great actors like Christopher Walken. Probably not specifically Christopher Walken, but favorite 2022 performances.
I don't think he was in anything this year, was he? Probably not.
I don't think so. I'll do some research while you tell me. I kind of broke this up into some like lead performances, ensemble stuff,
Mhm.
supporting.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was probably the toughest category to pick. Obviously, best movie is up there too. But I mean, every single movie, honestly, probably has a really good performance. So cherry picking just a few of the best was pretty tough, but I'm going to attempt it. My first couple, well, one of them is kind of not the best. But first off, Zoe Kravitz in the Batman. I believe this is the last time I bring up the Batman, but I did want to shout her out one more time because I
Christopher
honestly
Walken
like.
was in the TV show Severance this year,
Oh, was he? Okay, but I did not check that out actually, which we'll talk about later. But
nominated for an Emmy for his role.
really? Okay. Well, I kind of really want to watch Severance now because I want to see Christopher Walken work.
Jackson's been telling us for
Yeah.
weeks,
No, I've
months.
heard I've heard it's very good as well. Shout out Adam Scott. But yeah, Zoe Kravitz, I think she's honestly one of the most talented actresses working today. And I hope like this is sort of like she's had breakout roles. I hope this is her like blockbuster breakout role. I kind of just want her to be in every single blockbuster going forward because I do think she is that good. And also, I saw Dope for the first time this year as well, and she's amazing in that too. But in the Batman, I think she really is a standout and kind of does like a lot of the heavy lifting emotionally. Because I mean, Robert Pattinson's good, but the movie's kind of about her, which I really like. And yeah, I want to see so much more of her.
I don't know what's gonna happen with the DC movies, so it's hard to say. But I would love to see more Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman in
Oh yeah.
whether it's the Penguin TV show or her own spinoff or just another sequel. Something, we need more of it. She's making her directorial debut next year.
Really?
with a movie called Pussy Island starring Channing Tatum.
Oh,
So I'm pretty excited about that. I don't know what's happening there,
yeah,
but
interesting combo, but
it's a
yeah,
thriller. So
I'm down for it. That sounds great.
Tatum's a tech billionaire, Slater King. So
Channing
yeah.
Tatum, Channing Tatum in a thriller. That's interesting, but I'll watch it for Zoe Kravitz. But speaking of the DCEU, weirdly enough, my next pick for one of the best performances, Pierce Brosnan in Black Adam,
Oh God.
which is a little bit of a
Didn't
joke.
think that was gonna come up in this
Yeah.
category.
Bet you didn't think I was gonna say that. But yeah, legit. I think he is really good in that role. Obviously, Black Adam is nowhere near a great film, but I think that's perfect casting, and it's probably just a little bit of the fanboy in me because I really do like Doctor Fate as a character, and that is just such perfect casting, which I've said multiple times as well. But yeah, he was good in a bad movie, so I want to shout out that. And then my last honorable mentions, it's a duo. It's Daniel Kaluuya and Kiki Palmer from Nope. I mean, their chemistry is unmatched. I think this year, definitely the best duo on screen. I would say, just that one scene. Well, again, one of my favorite scenes of the year is like them, getting excited and slapping their hands together like 4 or 5 times. Just such good vibes. And Daniel Kaluuya, he does have more of a laid back performance in Nope, but yeah, I think it is one of his best. He probably is a little bit better in Get Out just because he has more emotionally going on there. But yeah, like I said, duo wise, I think they had the best chemistry of the year. But again, surprisingly, my pick for best performance, it's gonna be Georgina Campbell in Barbarian, which I mean, even going over my list before, I would not have guessed that I would have picked that honestly. But that movie, it stuck with me. The depth of that character, I think for a horror film especially, is so crazy. And sort of the change even from Act One to Act Two, and then the ending, like I don't know, her character movement I think is very well written, but her performance really brings it home. I mean, the change to, the start of the movie is really fun because you don't really know what you're getting into, and then once spoiler alert, Bill Skarsgård, something happens to him. Once that happens, her character changes completely and sort of just goes into survival mode. And then at the end, all of her interactions with Justin Long are so fun. The ending where she gets thrown off too. She has a great one liner at the end. So shout out Georgina. Maybe not like the best, but my favorite because again it was surprising and something I didn't expect at all. But again, another person who coming into this year, I didn't really know much about Georgina Campbell, but someone who needs more roles immediately after that film.
Yeah, she's really good in that movie, and that is a movie that is based on three performances and the expectations you have for those characters, Skarsgård, Long, and what Georgina Campbell's going to do. So yeah, really good picks. For me, I've got a ton of honorable mentions. We'll start with voice acting because we only have two picks here. Jenny Slate and Marcel the Shell, shout out as Marcel. Good solid performance there. And then my pick for the winner, Antonio Banderas as Puss in Boots. Just that man's been doing incredible work since what, like 2004, 2005. I don't know when Shrek 2 came out, but just
Long time ago.
iconic for
Yeah,
a decade and a half as
yeah.
that cat.
He's still got a couple lives left, but yeah, Antonio,
Well,
classic.
Cody, if you've seen the movie, you'd be wrong.
Does he die? I haven't seen it.
Well, no, that's the plot of the movie is that he's on his last life.
Yeah, I know. That was the joke. I know the plot.
He
Come on.
doesn't have a couple lives left, Cody. He
Yeah, I
dies.
know he's got one.
All right, continue. What were you saying?
I don't know. Are those your two best performances?
Yep, that's it. No. Supporting actor.
Uh,
Honorable mentions to Lashana Lynch in The Women King. She was really great. Barbarian, Justin Long, Zoe
yeah,
Kravitz in The Batman. Anthony Edwards in Hustle, Cody. Really good villain performance. Got to get this is how you get people to come to your awards show. You give Anthony Edwards a nomination for Best Supporting Actor. He's really good in that movie, and it's a fun outside the box recommendation there.
yeah,
But my two winners,
uh,
Janelle Monáe and Glass Onion. Kind
yeah.
of a dual performance if you've seen the movie. Don't want to say too much more beyond that, but she was really good. She was the standout to me. I've talked about my feelings on Daniel Craig in that series and his accent. It was better in this movie. I think it was more effective, but Janelle Monáe was really fantastic. And then also Ki Hye Kwan, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Just, in terms of, the journey he's had, as well as that being a truly incredible performance. And yeah, those are the two people that I want to recognize for supporting actor.
Yeah, those are great picks. And Janelle Monáe, I think she is underlooked in that movie a ton. Yeah, again, it's kind of on her back, She does have a lot of the emotional resonance, so that's a great shout as well.
Then we'll move on to ensembles. These are just casts that I like as a whole. You'll notice that some of these people didn't also appear in supporting or lead, just because I think it's more about cohesion here. So Banshees, Avina Sheeran cast, Colin Farrell, Barry Keoghan, Brendan Gleeson, um, as well as Carrie Condon. Truly incredible. They're so fun together. They work so well together. There's a reason. I mean, Gleason and Farrell and McDonough have done stuff in the past together, as well as I also want to shout out Nope. So you've got beyond just Kiki Palmer and Daniel Kaluuya, Stephen Yeun, Brendan Pereira, Michael Wincott, really solid. Keith David hopping in there for just like 5 minutes before he gets killed in the beginning of the movie. The Bones and All, that's a smaller cast, but like again, Mark Rylance as kind of this villainous character, and then Taylor Russell and Timothée Chalamet are both really solid in it. The women talking ensemble is insane. Jessie Buckley, Claire Foy, and then Black Panther also. I love Winston Duke, Lupita
Yeah.
Nyong'o, Letitia Wright, Angela Bassett. Spoiler alert: Michael B. Jordan's in it for a little bit, as well as what's the guy's name who plays Tanoh Huerta as well, who plays the character of Namor. Yeah, just the cast as a whole is really good.
No, in the ensemble, I feel like that should low key be an Academy Award.
I think we might do our Academy Awards picks and changes when it comes Oscar time. Kody, what do you
Or we
think?
should throw in an ensemble category because
Exactly.
really overlooked.
I agree, and voice acting as well,
Well, I guess.
and motion capture performance.
Eh, yeah, you lost me
We
already.
give it to Sam Worthington. Lead actor, our final category.
You mean Sigourney Weaver, right? Yeah.
I don't know if she did the mocap for the small child. I guess her
Yeah, she
face for
did.
sure. Was she on the ground? Like, she's a very small
I
child,
think
and
so. I think so.
I wish she didn't. Lead actor. Shout outs to Aubrey Plaza and Emily the Criminal, a movie on Netflix you can check out. Amber Midthunder and Prey, as well as Anya Taylor Joy in The Menu. They're all really great. But my winner for the females is Kate Blanchett in Tar, obviously. She's incredible, revolutionary, one of the best acting performances I've seen in years, and definitely my favorite performance, just period, of the year.
Good picks. Ray's another one underlooked. We forgot to bring up, I think, but yeah, those are all great.
Definitely an underlooked movie. Hulu, check it out. And then for the old boys, Alexander Skarsgård in The Northman, a movie I just watched. I don't really know if anybody else could do what he does in that movie. He really pulls something off. He kind of pulls in on that Tarzan kind of past, mixed with the fact that his name is fucking Alexander Skarsgård, and just like that energy. And the man is a Viking and in a creature. And yeah, that's a really good movie. There's some bad accents from some other people. Hawk, Kidman, Anya Taylor Joy. They're a little bit all over the place, but fun movie nonetheless. Also, shout out to Song Kang Ho. You may know him as the lead actor in Parasite. He was in the movie Broker that I saw last week. He's great in everything. He's in other a ton of Bong Joon Ho movies, Memories of Murder. He's also in Snowpiercer. He's really great, and I think maybe a more international audience recognizes how great of an actor he is, but he is like one of the great living actors, period. Brendan Fraser in The Whale. Obviously, the story's great there. I love Brendan Fraser. I hope he wins the Oscar. I'm not going to give him the best performance award here today, but I do hope he wins the Oscar because I think it's just a great story, and it's a person who's been through a lot, and I think is truly a great actor and is a great performance. The performance is deserving, but so is the person. So it's a good coalescence of both those things. Daniel Radcliffe as Weird Al in the Weird Al story, actually pretty solid.
Wow.
Give me that over fucking Austin Butler Elvis. I don't love either of those movies. The Weird Al movie, there's a weird thing with Madonna that I'm not a huge fan of, but I think in terms of performance, neither of them is singing, so it doesn't, like, they're both just fucking Yeah, I don't know. Music biopics, Weird Al better than Elvis.
Yeah, I haven't seen Weird Al, but I mean Austin Butler.
Roku TV movie.
Yeah, true. I don't I don't know if I want to watch it just because of that too. But yeah, Austin Butler, I think that's got this isn't a category, but I'd say that's the most overrated performance of the year in my book. But that kid, he's I don't know, something about him just pisses me off. But yeah.
The person I want to give the best performance award for 2022 is
Mm.
Jonathan Pope in The Inspection. He was Golden Globe nominated. There's a chance he could get Oscar nominated. This is an A24 film about a gay man who enters the Marines to try and find a purpose in his life in the mid 2000s. It's semi autobiographical from the director, kind of his similar experiences. Jonathan Pope is very good. Listen, there's some things about it. It's still a little bit of like, oh yeah, this is a movie about the military, and there's some connotations there, like because at the time, like it was not okay to be gay in the military, and I don't know. The view it has of it is an interesting one, but in terms of pure performance, it is really incredible. And Jonathan Pope is gonna do big things, and it'd be cool. It'd be really cool to see a performance like this get an Oscar nom, being that fifth one because it's kind of an open spot right now. Listen, Farrell, Austin Butler, Brendan Fraser, they're all gonna get nominated, but there's some room for some other people as well. So it'd be
Yeah,
cool. Jonathan Pope's my favorite though.
shut up.
Let's take a commercial break and we'll be right back.
Something in the way.
And we're back. Speaking of something in the way, Kody, favorite superhero movies of 2022.
Mm,
I'll start.
go for it.
It's the Batman. It was the best one that came out this year. So kind of beating the dead horse a little bit here, but the music beyond the overplaying of the Nirvana from Michael Giacchino is really good. It has
You
a
said
good
you didn't
score.
like it. You said you didn't
I'm
like
coming
it.
around to it. It's good music. It's Darth Vader. The thing is, if you appreciate it for it, it's Darth Vadery. You can't tell me that it's not the Imperial March. But no, like there are some sick visuals. I like this movie. Especially the thing is, at the time, I was down on it a little bit. As I've seen other superhero movies come out this year, my appreciation has grown in that aspect because it is by far and away the best one. Um, Robert Pattinson, are we still feeling good about that? Do you think we'll ever see him again?
I do, but I think it might be a little bit of time. I think it might be like 5, 6 years if I'm being honest, just because the studio's in a mess.
The people will want it though, right?
Yeah, I mean this movie it made a crap ton of money. Not the most money any Batman's
Like
movie.
$700 million though.
Yeah,
Still,
it didn't hit the billion mark,
it's
which was
not bad
probably,
work if you can get it.
yeah, it probably wasn't like the biggest performer they were wanting or expecting, but it still did really really good, and it's a really good movie. So I'd be surprised if we didn't get a sequel to it. Also, they set up some bullshit Joker. So, Barry Keoghan,
Barry Keoghan, what a
he's a good
year.
actor. So how can you not, continue that on? But I do think we'll see him again. Pattinson.
Is that your favorite superhero movie as well, Kody?
I mean, probably technically. Also, I did want to preface with, yeah, this year kind of sucked for superhero movies, which is kind of sad. Like, we had Multiverse of Madness, which I was not a big fan of. Thor: Love and Thunder, which was fucking terrible. Excuse my language. Black Adam, everybody knows that. Morbius, like, come on, man. The theatrical releases this year were pretty poor, even from Marvel, which kind of sucks. But hopefully the Flash releases next year, regardless, of Ezra Miller stuff, because I do want to see that movie with Michael Keaton in it and Ben Affleck. So hopefully we finally get that. But anywho, yeah, obviously my two picks, the Batman. But my actual pick is going to be Werewolf by Night, which I think again is super underrated. Speaking of Michael Giacchino, I don't know, is this his directorial debut? I believe so. If not, he doesn't do much else, but he's amazing in this. And also, is this really a movie? I don't know. It's a special presentation, whatever that means. But I mean, it's not a TV show, so I'll categorize it as a movie. But yeah, by far this is the best thing Marvel's produced this year, and I don't think it's close. Just it's different, which isn't always better, but in this circumstance, yeah, 100%. Just the visual style, the black and white to start, and great new characters and like this more darker universe tone to really like sort of like that monster universe that we were talking about last episode, but actually in the MCU, which is sick. And again, it just left me with like wanting to see more of these characters.
I mean,
Wanting,
Blade, hopefully, right?
yeah, I mean, yeah, hopefully. I mean, I just want to see Man Thing come back. Those visuals on him, I think, were
That was a
perfect,
very cool character design.
and it was super well cast as well. Even though like it was kind of a bunch of no names, but everybody was really good. So bring me more Michael Giacchino. Let him direct Blade. I think they've been having directorial issues there, anyways, and bring in all these fun characters. But the tone and the visual style for me were really what stood out.
Have you ever seen Star Trek Short Treks?
Short track. Yeah, I don't think so. Wait, it's on Paramount Plus, right?
It's like a, I don't know. Yeah, it's like a TV show or something.
Oh, yeah.
It's an anthology.
I think it's animated, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I know weirdly enough, there's some people from Survivor who like help write that show. So that's what I know it from, but I haven't seen it.
Well,
Is it
Michael Giacchino made his professional directorial debut with an episode of Star Trek Short Treks during its second season, so he should be your boy, Kody.
well, maybe I'll watch it actually then, because I know the writers, I know the directors. I mean, it's got to be, and it's Star Trek. It's like perfect for me. So yeah, that's a good shout.
He's doing a remake of Them, like the old
Yeah.
1954 horror movie
Hmm.
for Warner Brothers. That's his next film. So
Smart from Warner Brothers. I mean, give this guy more work. That's a crazy good debut, and obviously he can, create any sort of great music for any property of all time. So yeah, I'd hire him instantly.
I liked Wakanda Forever a little bit more than Werewolf by Night, just as
Mhm.
like a pure movie.
Yeah, I mean,
Obviously, it was,
it's not really a movie. I feel like it's kind of a cop out,
yeah.
honestly.
I do have Werewolf by Night on this list, but Wakanda Forever, it was a tough task. We talked about it a little at the end of the last episode about other plans they had, and it would have been really cool to see that. But listen, rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. He passed away. He was obviously fighting for a really long time, and it's just a really unfortunate scenario. And I think they did, with the time that they had to make this movie happen, and all COVID and Letitia Wright not wanting to get vaccinated and any other, I think she broke her leg on set. Like, this movie had a lot of problems in production
Yeah,
and pre-production, and it's part of the Marvel machine. So you had to get certain characters in there, like Ironheart. Considering all that, I think it's still a pretty good movie, and I did enjoy it. Didn't quite have the cultural impact of the first one. We'll see, will it get a Best Picture nomination or not? But I did enjoy it, and I think in the long run, it might be the best movie of Phase Four.
that's fair. I think the direction is the standout. Kind of like you said, it is like it's a Marvel movie. They had to throw in, younger, characters who are going to show up later and in Ironheart and everything. But I mean, just visually again, and so bringing everything together, even though like this movie was a mess and coming off the death of Chadwick Boseman, that had to be unbelievably difficult just to make. So shout out Ryan Coogler. I hope he does continue directing MCU movies. I really hope this isn't his last because he's 100% one of the best actors today.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see him obviously do other things outside the MCU world, but he's made box office movies with, outside of that. He did the Creed movies as well, and he obviously, Michael B. Jordan's directing this one, but I believe he still helped write it. But I think if you give Ryan Coogler, if you had given him like 3 years to kind of like go back to phase one, break it down, rewrite the whole story, figure things out anew, this movie would probably be a lot better. But like, that's just not, they didn't have the time to do that. That wasn't feasible. He had to
Yeah.
kind of build off something that he already had. And I don't know. I think he did an incredibly impressive job. And shout out to him for that. I would say RRR is very much a superhero movie as well. Those are
Yeah.
essentially, it is like a better version of a Zack Snyder movie. I've said this in the past, but yeah, I mean, they're basically just like two real historical figures that they've given superpowers. It's like a mix between a American superhero movie and a musical and an anime, and yeah, it's genre bending and fantastic action. So definitely put it on this list.
It's perfect. Yeah.
Better than fucking anything we saw in Black Adam.
I mean, that's not even a question. The action in RRR compared to Black Adam, it's actual. It
At
really
different
is.
like budget levels, it's insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
Favorite superhero TV shows of 2022. What's first of all MCU, Kody? What was your favorite MCU TV show?
Yeah. I think it's a bit of a toss up. It would definitely be between Miss Marvel and Moon Knight. Uh, the thing with Moon Knight is I really enjoy like the first three episodes. And then after that, it's a little bit more wishy washy. And then with Miss Marvel, I think like just, episode to episode, this does get better. It is a little bit cheesy and it is obviously made for a little bit younger audiences. The dialogue at times is not always the best. But I would just say like heart wise, which the MCU does a lot of, but not really in TV this year. I guess, She-Hulk, they went at Moon Knight, they went a little bit darker. So I think, Miss Marvel, it is maybe the most Marvel show of the year, but I don't want to count that against it just because, of the tone. And the cast is dope. The story is, a little bit smaller scale, but that's kind of my favorite Marvel stuff at times, like Werewolf and Night, like Ant-Man, where, the world's not at stake. You don't have to save the world. It's more just about establishing these heroes and it made me excited to like see Kamala Khan on the big screen, which honestly I didn't expect going in. So yeah, Marvel wise, those would probably be my favorites. It is kind of a toss up just because Marvel throws out so much TV though.
I mean this with the utmost respect for Brie Larson, but Miss Marvel getting me hyped for the Marvels will just attest to that show is actually pretty good. It,
Yeah,
it would take a bit after the original Captain Marvel movie and the mess that was. It's kind of a hard sell, right? The Marvels movie, but the supporting characters are getting me excited at the very least. For me, Miss Marvel is definitely my favorite. I think Moon Knight.
you didn't like Moon Knight, did
Moon
you?
Knight,
Yeah.
I wasn't a huge fan of. The VFX in that were honestly, I think it's points worse than She-Hulk.
Wow,
Ethan
that's
Hawke,
bold.
I like. I just watched, like I said, The Northman, and his accent is like the same in The Northman as it is and in Moon Knight, which is kind of funny because they should not be the same at all.
Yeah,
But no, my favorite has to be Miss Marvel. Like you said, it is a little bit more base level, ground level. It's a sweet story about a girl in Jersey City, and I just moved to Jersey City, Kody. How can I not pick it? It's yeah, it's fun.
good point.
Outside of Marvel, though, I mean, the obvious, a show we did watch together, we binged
Which is this is my pick as well.
in January, Peacemaker. Doesn't feel like it came out this year. It feels like
Yeah,
a long time ago, or I guess it was last year, but feels like a long time ago. I thought it was going to be stupid. I waited a little bit to watch it. So maybe it was February that we saw it, but we waited a little bit, finally checked it out, and I was hooked and pretty much watched the whole thing in like a 48-hour span.
yeah. I think that's for me. It's one of the best pilots of the year. That first episode, I think it's just so much fun, and it really like establishes John Cena as like, oh, this guy's gonna be good in this, which again I didn't expect going forward.
It
But for
made me
me,
believe in the power of Cena.
yeah, same, which is wild to say. But I think the supporting cast is just as good. I mean, Vigilante was my favorite character. Just the dry comedy in that series, really, I thought was great. And even like Eagly, like even like the weird, more James Gunn characters, I really loved. I thought like all the side jokes were really good.
What about the guy from Terminator 2 who plays his dad?
Oh, Robert Patrick, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean that character, that character's obviously like
What's his
super.
name? Like the White Grand Wizard or something?
Yeah, it's some just KKK member basically. But yeah, I mean,
Not
obviously,
great.
yeah, I don't like the villain, and it's not the most interesting, but it is like a really bad guy. So I guess it's a good person for him to go up against because he is an anti.
Peacemaker needs somebody that like is bad because you don't want it to be like, because Peacemaker kind of fucks people up a little bit.
Yeah, he's not really a hero. He's an anti-hero for
Yeah.
sure. So you really need to have like, oh, like this is a terrible person, which they really went for. But yeah, not my favorite character performance of the year by any means. But in terms of the show, it does work.
And we're getting that one guy as the bad guy of Guardians Galaxy 3.
Yeah, true. And you really like that one scene with him, I guess.
Yeah,
The reveal scene.
it is good. Yeah, sure.
Overrated.
Okay. Um, Shakuri Aluji, I believe is his name.
Yeah, we'll have to learn his name because Guardians 3 is coming out this
We've got
year.
a couple months, but we'll do it.
Yeah, we'll have to figure it out. It's kind of like the guy in Guardians 1. What's his
Jamin
name?
Hansu.
John Hansu. Yeah. We had to learn his name too.
I don't
To
even
make
think
us.
that's right. I think we might be saying it wrong still.
No, that's right. Jamin Hansu. Shout out Jamin. He's probably listening because I'm his biggest fan. So, and then
I
just
do
quick.
like his work in 2K.
True, true.
I got one more superhero show, and it's The Boys
What else?
season 3 that came out this year,
Oh,
Kody. You're not on the Boys train, but
not yet. I'll
I
go.
watched season 1 and 2 basically as the third season was ending its premiere. So I was able to catch like the end right it was happening for season 3.
Mm,
The show as a whole is really fantastic. The third season is by far the best of the three. The character of Homelander as a villain, he kind of really takes a Donald Trump turn in season 3, which I know, in some cases is overplayed and isn't funny. And it's like, can you really satirize this? But they do it in a really effective way, mostly because it's literally just like direct quotes. They just like rip stuff he says, and that's it. And it kind of works for the character.
that's
But it is like the most accurate representation of like if superheroes were real, when Disney, if Disney owned the superheroes and what fucking capitalism does to destroy people and money over people's livelihoods and lives. So yeah, people are fucked up. It's a fucked up show, but it's a good show, and definitely check out The Boys. I think you would love it, Kody. That's the thing.
yeah, I agree. TV, I've kind of just been rewatching some things for some reason. But yeah, that's again, I feel like I say this a lot, but that is on my list. I will get to it hopefully in 2023.
All right. Favorite 2022 TV shows in general, Kody?
This is a tough one because I don't know. I feel like for TV, it's maybe been a little bit of a down year. People are more shifting, I feel like, to not making television as much. I don't know, at least like network stuff, I would say. It's not really mainstream these
I
days.
think 2021 was like a really strong year for like premiere. I mean, you and I just don't watch a lot of TV. You watch more than I do.
Yeah.
But like I know there is some good TV that's on. I think this was definitely a down year in comparison.
Yeah. But there were definitely a couple that I did want to shout out. First off, again, I don't know how legit this is, but I do want to shout out Survivor. Even though this year we did get a couple seasons, one of them was decent. The other one I really didn't like, so I'll move on quickly. But my pick it is gonna be House of Dragon. Obviously, continuing. Well, not really continuing. It is a prequel, but getting a bunch of new characters in this world who we kind of know. So it's a sequel in a sense, but obviously not. But the first like 5 episodes I think are really, really good. And that's when you have like the younger actresses. I thought they were the standouts. And then there's, the casting change, which it did take a little bit of time to me get into. I think earlier in the year I was kind of like, I don't even want to finish this series because they changed my favorite actress out of the show. But like the time jump is important, and I'm jacked for season 2. Basically, the finale episode, especially, I think is really good, and it's just dope to see. I mean, dragons on screen. You can't argue against dragons, and in Game of Thrones, that was kind of always on the back burner. So it's cool to see like them actually in the forefront. And yeah, HBO wise, I would say that that's definitely the best thing they released TV wise this year.
We obviously didn't watch White Lotus, so that's a miss
True.
on our part, I guess.
Which was written
Um,
by Mike White of Survivor fame, and he's even inspired by events on Survivor in season 2. So yeah, it's super topical Survivor wise.
Obviously, no Succession this year. That was 2021, so can't shut that out. But Euphoria season 2 was 2022,
Yeah,
and that was an HBO show. So I enjoyed that a lot. Really big fan. There's definitely problems with it, but Zendaya is an incredible actress and one of my favorites. Survivor, I enjoy Survivor just to watch Survivor. It's like really the only thing that I'm actively watching every week, sometimes like live. So,
Mhm.
even if they weren't both great seasons, it was two decent seasons of Survivor that I watched
Mhm.
and talked about. But then the other one I got to shout out, Abbott Elementary, which is still like in its second season right now. But I enjoyed the first season pretty well, but I think the first half of the second season was very funny and really good, and it's really hit its stride. So if you want something that's still a comedy that's early seasons, go check out Abbott Elementary because I think it might be around for a while. And it's basically The Office or Parks and Rec. It's a mockumentary, but in a Philadelphia school. So it's a cool setting.
Yeah, that mockumentary style, I think, it's super effective, and for like that setting, I think it's good too. So something I might check out in the future. One last shout, TV wise, this didn't come out this year, obviously, but The Wire is an outstanding show. Haven't seen it out, but yeah, obviously not released this year. But I wanted to throw that in too. Shout out Idris, love that guy.
All right.
Idris for Bond 24.
Favorite sports moment of 2022, Kody. What do you got for me?
Baby, this is right up my alley. I'll tell
You
you
don't
what,
get to talk
2020.
sports a lot on the show. This is
No, I'm gonna milk it a little bit. But 2022 was a great year in sports. Tons and tons of great moments. So if I miss it, don't count it against me. But to start off the year, I mean, obviously college basketball, March Madness season. The first honorable mention I want to throw out there, Jay Ivey, game winner against Ohio State, fadeaway 3-pointer, stuck it for the win. Super, super fun. And then continuing college basketball wise, it was a great Final Four. I mean, you had North Carolina and Duke squaring off, which is unbelievable. That's a Final Four game. Plus, it was Coach K's last game, and he loses to Carolina. So just so poetic. God, I love college basketball. Can't wait for March this year. But then continuing on throughout the year, baseball actually had a kind of a resurgent year. I feel like a little bit. And my favorite moment of the
started
year,
with a lockout, ended
yeah,
pretty well.
it was start of the year, but come October, man, there were a lot of good series. My favorite moment, Bryce Harper, sending the Phillies to the World Series, basically on his back with an oppo shot in the eighth inning. Iconic stuff. And that in itself is just so much fun. One of the more fun teams we've had, in baseball the past few years. But obviously, my favorite moment of the year, just the World Cup as a whole. I'm a massive soccer guy, and this may it is recency bias, and obviously we're biased, but this possibly is the best World Cup of all time. It had the most goals scored of all time, which is crazy. So we're kind of coming into this attacking age of football, which I love, can't complain. And then we had, I think, the best World Cup final of all time. The showdown between the defending champs of France and the old age, battered, beaten down Argentina and Leo Messi, and it ended up
23-year-old, new age
yeah,
star
basically
Mbappe.
the prodigy versus the sun, just an intense environment, and ends up being a 3-3 game where Mbappe scores a hat trick, but France loses the penalties. Again, I mean, sports like this is just poetic stuff. And when it comes to football, I mean, it is the world's biggest sport, and Lionel Messi has probably gone down as the best player of all time. So it's an iconic moment, and yeah, I don't think anything has beaten that this year. So that's definitely my pick.
The World Cup was pretty solid. I'm not a big soccer fan, definitely nowhere near as much as you are. And I did watch the final, and I watched, I think, two other games, and they were all shootouts. So I mean, that tells you enough right there. There were some good games, like a lot of goals scored, a lot of close ones. If it's got to go to shootouts, it's fun. So for me, this is obviously a big year in kind of growing as like a sports fan, in that I took a job in sports media, and I work for Major League Baseball now. So that Bryce Harper Game 5 NLCS home run probably hit even harder this year because I'm pretty sure I was at work when it happened, and like I don't know, it's just yeah, that was a huge thing for the game, and the postseason was new and different this year, and I think it was really exciting. And the Phillies run, like you said, they're a fun team. They're the underdogs. Obviously, didn't pull it out, but in that World Series, even beyond that, we had a game where there was like 6 home runs hit by the Phillies, and then the next game they got no hit. Like crazy shit was
Yeah,
happening all postseason, and it was a lot of fun, and it was really cool. to experience. And then just kind of a personal one for me, I got to one of the games I worked for Purdue baseball back in the spring, Purdue IU game. It was 16-15. It was like a 4-hour fucking game. We got the win, and I got to work it. I was producing it, doing the graphics. Got to make some special graphics about it being like the third highest game, third highest scoring game in our matchup history. Other ones in like 1920, some shit. Um, Jeff Brom was there, made a quick Jeff Brom graphic. Oh, Purdue, throw the camera. It was a fun broadcast, and it's something that I really enjoy. And while it's not what I'm doing now, it's something I can hope to do, further in the future. So two solid memories there.
Shout out the Purdue baseball team. I believe, I believe that during that game, you were not too happy because it was taking forever. And was it on the weekend or something? It was some sort of day where we were probably gonna hang out or something, and you were stuck at baseball all day. But at least you saw a heck of a game.
You
So
weren't
I
there,
don't know.
Kody. Why would we be hanging out?
Oh, I'm just making crap up. But I remember you telling me like, dude, I'm stuck in this game
I
all
think
day.
maybe I
And
had an IM game or something I was trying to get to.
at the end of it, you're like, oh, that was probably the best game I've ever seen. So it was kind of mixed emotions, I think.
Yeah, it all worked out in the end. Looking back with fondness. Let's talk our favorite YouTube channels of 2022, Kody. What do you got for me?
Yeah. So YouTube, I've not been as active, but there are still, channels that I'm very, religiously subscribed to. We'll watch all the videos and stuff. First off, shout out John Boy. Still creating a lot of good content, a lot of baseball stuff, but just sports in general, and one of the funnier guys out there. So shout out him. And then as well, is this YouTube? Is it kind of not really? But I don't know if you know what this is, but Guess Ike's Lunch. Do you know what that is?
I mean, I've seen the TikTok videos. I always skip them. I despise them.
I think it's awesome. I definitely watch all their TikToks. They restarted a YouTube channel, so technically it counts. But yeah, love that on TikTok. Probably the only thing on TikTok that I actually watch every day. But my two favorite YouTubers movie wise is Dan Merle and Jeremy Johns. I believe about Jeremy Johns before in the past. But those two guys, I mean, they're kind of my go-to after, not like right after I watch a movie. I usually like to wait a couple days and like process it, get my own review down, and then go see what they have to think about it. But Jeremy Johns, he's kind of just like the average person in America, I would say. If he likes a movie, probably everyone else will think it's okay. But he has like very specific tastes, and I always love his opinion on it. And then Dan Merle is kind of like the critic in me. So Jeremy Allen is like the fun guy in me, and Dan Merle's more the critic, I would say. But both great, producers of content, and both have probably around a mil, 2 mil on YouTube. So not the biggest, but movie wise, I think they definitely know what they're talking about. So those would definitely be mine too.
Yeah, those are great. For me, I was gonna also throw John Boy on there. Obviously, just ton of great content. I really enjoy watching their GeoGuessr videos beyond just the baseball stuff. Doing good stuff in the warehouse though too. Cool as well. Jersey City, New Jersey is where that's located.
Yeah. Mm.
Also on top of that, watching some GeoGuessr, there's a channel called GeoWizard. He's just this like British dude that he originally was just doing GeoGuessr, but now he does some like adventuring like missions. So he like kicked a soccer ball from one side of England to the other.
Really?
Well, yeah. Well, maybe
That's
I'm
not
yeah.
awesome.
He like kicked a soccer ball really far, like for like 48 hours. Like basically did a marathon, like a crazy distance. He
Yeah.
walked a straight
That's
line
cool.
across Britain. He came to America and did some weird hitchhiking thing. So yeah, I first started watching him because of his GeoGuessr videos, but he also does a lot of cool like adventuring survival type videos as well. GMM, I've always enjoyed. I don't watch like that religiously every day in the same way that maybe I used to, but I still like those two dudes and stay up to date on the content that they're creating over there, Rhett and Link. And then probably my favorite YouTube channel that now Mina and I both watch is Hive Mind. Is just two dudes that kind of do play games. It's similar to GMN, but like in a younger sort of audience. But it's a lot of like music and rap themed type games. I think I showed you one video when we were hanging out one time. But yeah, those are definitely my favorites of this year.
Yeah, all good picks. All good picks.
Favorite podcasts of 2022. Stand on the John Boy train. I do listen to the Talking Baseball podcast. Keep you up to date on just everything going on in baseball. Got to give big shouts to our boys at the Rough Cut Retrospective. Always enjoying
Yep.
what they're doing. I don't watch a ton of movie YouTube videos, but I listen to like a lot of movie podcasts, and they're always in the rotation. They switched it up after they hit 100 episodes this year and kind of changed their format a little bit. It's been really cool to see the stuff they're doing. I haven't been able to listen to as many episodes recently because like they did an Avatar Way of the Water episode, and I'm gonna wait until we do our episode before I listen to theirs. And then, I think they just dropped their 2022 review yesterday, and wanted to keep our insights fresh first. But they're doing incredible stuff, and I always love to listen to what they're doing.
Yeah, agreed. That was one I'm going to shout out as well. If I'm being completely honest, I don't listen to a ton of podcasts anymore. I used to have like I think 6 or 7 in the rotation, and it's come down to like 3 or 4 pretty much. But as far as PMT, pardon my take, I definitely just listen to that. Shut up, Big Cat. Shut up, Billy Football. PFT. Just a great crew and a lot of fun. They always have just wild takes on sports, so that's always fun. And then sports world as well. Pat McAfee, I used to listen to pretty much, whenever they would release. Probably like every 1 out of 4 or 5 episodes now. If something like crazy goes on in sports, I'll get his insight on it. But his kind of crew, I don't think is as interesting as PMT. So kind of falling off a little bit, maybe get away from ESPN, Pat. But yeah, honestly, and I was looking into my Spotify like ranked and stuff. The Rough Cut retrospective, I think it was maybe other than KHAP, because I just like to re-listen to what we're saying a little bit. But they're 100% my top movie podcast. I love what they've done with their format, kind of going into their favorite movies in a sense over the past couple months. Shout out the Prestige episode, which obviously we've covered as well, but so much fun going over that. And also, I mean, we appeared on the show and again, which I think is a lot of fun. That Fantastic Four recast we did, I think that's one of the better episodes of the year from them. No, I'm joking, but
Definitely their best
fun.
episode, the one we were on.
I mean, kind of true. I thought that was a great episode.
It was a
But
good episode.
just tons of fun. Shout out those guys. Obviously, they're gonna be coming back on the show pretty quickly here.
And we're
And
gonna be we're
yeah.
gonna be doing a fantasy draft with them in a couple weeks, so stay
Spoiler
tuned for
alert,
that.
2023. We will be appearing in a few weeks on the show. But if you haven't checked them out, I'm sure you have if you know us. But if you haven't, 100%, give them a look as well.
A couple other shout outs for me, podcast wise. In tune with the GMN thing. They have their podcast Ear Biscuits that I always listen to, which is pretty solid. Just two guys that have been friends for a really long time, always just talking about a different topic every week, kind of switching it up. It's very relaxed, and they'll answer questions, or they'll go down the rabbit hole of ideas, and some stuff we do is occasionally influenced by some of that. Movie wise, beyond the Rough Cut, The Big Picture is probably my favorite. It's The Ringer, which does a ton of great podcasts. But Sean Fennessy, Amanda Dobbins, those two are, kind of my go-to two people that I always see for new movies and new releases and kind of what they think. And then a new one that I've gotten into as of recently is Blank Check Podcast, or Griffin and David Presents Blank Check. I think I've talked about it on the podcast a couple times recently, but cool show with David Sims, who's an Atlantic staff writer, does their movie criticism at the Atlantic, and then Griffin Newman, who's an actor. He was in that Draft Day movie. He plays like the intern. You would probably recognize him if you saw him, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think he played like the squirrel in the new Disenchanted movie. So he's like a part-time, well, he's like a full-time actor, but he's in small roles.
Squirrel.
And it's funny. I enjoy listening to their new show. They just did a great Avatar episode, and
Nice.
yeah, definitely one that I've gotten into recently. Yeah,
that sounds fun.
Now, favorite movies we've watched for the podcast this year. This is kind of easy for me because literally like some of my favorite movies of all time we did this year. This was a big year for me. My favorite, Catch Me If You Can, shout out, Walken, as well as of course Moneyball, Good Will Hunting, Shout out to Jake for doing that episode with us. Inception. Shout out to Jacob Hughes. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Shout out to Jack. We had a ton of great guests, but like some of my favorite movies of all time, and in those.
Yeah, this category, you said it was easy. I mean, it was kind of difficult. It's kind of the same thing for me. For this year, we did so many of my favorite movies. You mentioned a couple of them: Good Will Hunting, Moneyball, also Catch Me If You Can. I mean, that probably is my one of my. Well, I don't know. I want to say that's my favorite of the year that we've done, just because I mean we picked it as the best movie that we, did this year or just all time on Cap. So I feel like it has to be up there. But also my personal favorites: Guardians of
Moneyball.
the Galaxy, yeah, The Prestige, Uncut Gems. We did Booksmart at the very beginning of the year. So tons of my picks. I really just went for my favorites the past couple seasons. But yeah, I guess I'll pick Catch Me If You Can as my favorite of the year. But yeah, any of those like 10 I just mentioned, I just love. So yeah. We did a lot of like great movies on the pod this past year.
Yeah, I mean we did a ton of episodes. I think we had done only 29 in 2021, and this is now our 81st episode. So I mean,
Jesus.
52 episodes. So there's been a lot in 2022, a lot of great movies. Catch Me If You Can is definitely my favorite though.
Yeah. I think it would be my pick too, but I mean, yeah, like I said, any of those mentioned, they're all honoraries to me.
Listen to our ranking the 50 movies of Cap episode. That's a solid one if you want to hear some
Which one
further insight.
was it Moneyball?
Oh, number 2 was Moneyball, yeah. And then
Was it?
Moonlight.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, Moonlight too, but that was obviously season one. But
Season 1, yeah.
yeah, those are all great.
Speaking of the 50 some odd episodes we've done in 2022, what's your favorite episode of Cap? I mean, this is a tough one for sure for me, but what do you got,
This is
Kody?
this is unbelievably hard. A shout out to a couple off the bat. That public domain episode we just did, I really, really liked. So that's definitely on my honoraries. And then as well, it has to be on here, my solo pod contact us. Personally, I really like that one. And again, I think we for 2023 we're gonna have to revisit it. But I couldn't decide between two, so I'm gonna pick two here. The first one is gonna be the Annihilation episode. Just such a fun breakdown of a crazy movie. We try and go through the plot. I think it's the only movie where we actually disagree on the plot, which is so much fun. Just a crazy, crazy movie and a really fun episode where we do have like opposing views, which I don't think really happens that much. But my other one, I was scrolling through and I was just trying to figure out maybe I had the most fun on, and I think it was the Battle for DeHart Street draft. We do a lot of drafts. I think that was the most fun one we've done, just because me and you, Corbin, we got to team up finally. We never get to team up, and we also killed everybody else. That was probably the most obvious win I think we've had in draft history. So kind of the double down, we finally got to team up and we killed them. So those would definitely be my favorite of the year.
A lot of great episodes. Pinocchio is at the top of my list. It was an episode that I had been wanting to
Wow,
do for a
nice.
really long time. Technically 2023 episode though, right?
Ooh, that is true actually. Dang, doesn't qualify. I don't think
So I
so.
think we're gonna have to. I mean, that'll be next year. We'll have to remember it. But
Oh,
it
it'll
was
be fine.
very. That episode was very akin to some early season 2 stuff we did, like the Rotten Tomatoes or the Jumping the Shark and Growing the Beard episodes. I want to do more of that type of stuff, like the explainer mixed with the review type of thing. Everything we did in May, our May Mania series, was a ton of fun for me, getting to kind of produce a little mini series like that. The One Night One Pod episode that we recorded was great. And the character draft as well that you mentioned was fantastic. Both of our decade drafts, 90s and 80s, were a ton of fun. Just getting to bring in JD, one of the better guests we've ever had on the show. Some
Thank you.
individual
Very
episodes.
knowledgeable.
Yeah, great guy. Gonna have to have JD back again in 23. And as well as getting to have Mina on for the 80s draft. Some individual movie episodes that we've done. The Wrong Missy with Emmy, Jurassic World with
Yep.
Sebasti, Paul Blart with Ben Smith. Every episode we did with guests, Truman Show and Trev. Like
Yeah,
we've had a ton of great guests. I don't want to. We've shouted them all out in the past, but like there's a ton of great ones. But those are a couple of my faves for sure.
absolutely. all good picks, and like you said, all great guests. Right, and I said this before, we're recycling guests, dude. We've had so many good ones. You guys are coming back, so stay patient.
For sure. I said I didn't want to get too sad, but we do have to reflect on how we can be better in the new year. So, Kody, what are our worst episodes of KHAP in 2022? Where did we fail?
Yeah, I really, really like this because off the top of the episode, we don't want to be negative, but we're gonna be negative about ourselves.
At the
That's the
end.
important part of life. Yeah. My least favorites, I have two picks, and I don't know if it has to do with the quality of the episodes. It's more about just what happened in it. So the first one is gonna be the Battle of the Podcast trivia with RCR, just because we lost terribly. We did absolutely terrible at trivia. So maybe,
I
it
expected
wasn't
more
as
out of
consumed
us.
because, yeah, I did too. And then to go hand in hand with that, season 4, episode 7, our individual 1v1 trivia matchup, which Mina was, very gracious to host, and she was awesome on it. But
Absolutely.
I lost that episode as well. So it's kind of all the L's I took in 2022. We just leave those in the past. We move forward. But yeah, that's kind of the approach I took on this, as the worst episodes were the ones where I just lost in trivia competitions. But I mean, good things came out of both. We got to watch Stalker from the first Lost, and then I got to review Contact List for the second one. So kind of even in the negativity, positivity still came out. So that's cool.
Not the worst punishment anyone could be subjected to, for sure. More trivia coming in 2023. Definitely. Stay tuned for that. Definitely going to be having lots of fun. For me, I will talk some quality episode ones. I enjoyed the Christmas episode, but I'll admit the audio quality was just not great on my end.
That episode, it's got to be not even close. It is the shortest of all time, so that's got it going for it. But yeah, quality wise, I'd probably agree. It's on the bottom tier.
It
But
was,
anyway, keep going.
a remote setup. What can you do? Our 37 plus things to stream episode, I think I dropped the ball a little bit. I'll take some honesty. I didn't do a great job in recommending stuff. I had bad recommendations, and I next time we do a streamer Rex, I'll come in with some better heat. I'll say that.
Yeah. I thought you had
And
decent picks, but
well, I
go ahead.
appreciate that, Kody. And then quality of movie, the Morbius episode. Great April Fool's episode. Bad episode of KHAP, I would say, probably.
Yeah, probably the least amount of words ever in a KHAP episode. Probably the least that even the Christmas movie one, which is wild. But for the memes, I do like that episode.
Well, that was our favorites and I guess one least favorite of 2022. As a whole, Kody, what do you think about 2022 in movies and TV? And maybe what are your thoughts for 2023?
So to give my little spiel on the year, 2022 was a really interesting one, I think. Definitely one for the history books, coming off, just an insane 2021, just a crazy time to be, a part of movies and a part of the world in general, I would say. But coming off that craziness of the past 2 COVID years, it is kind of maybe, getting back to normalcy, which I really like. And a great year in movies, honestly. I think much better than last. Obviously, tons of stuff is continuing to get pushed back because of, COVID in the past couple of years. But I think this year has been monumental. And it really did, kind of rebirth the industry as a whole. We talked about Top Gun, we talked about Everything Everywhere All at Once, and even in the Batman. Those early releases, I think, in 2022 are the ones that will be remembered from this year. I think that says a lot, just because they were coming almost out of nothing from a COVID era, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, and like I said, it's kind of just a fluid move into the next year. The movie industry, I think it's low-key booming right now, and I love the direction it's going. Kind of there's a lot of changes, even in the comic book genre with DC, kind of mixing it up. Finally, Marvel, they say they're mixing it up. We'll see, but I'm kind of looking forward to the downfall of Marvel, which I think is coming in the next few years. So look out for that. I know at the beginning of the year on the RCR, I even mentioned that this was going to be the year of DC, which it not
That was
turned
a
out to be.
great take.
I'm making, yeah, I'm taking another bold prediction. In 5 years, DC will be producing, much better quality content than Marvel. I think it's gonna be, a little bit of a turn. But yeah, movie wise, I mean, studio wise too. there's tons of changes that happen from bankruptcy and a little bit to blame from COVID. But the rise of A24 and some of these other smaller studios really coming into the forefront. Hopefully that continues as well. But yeah, turn it off 2023. It looks to be another great year of movies. And yeah, in general with Cap, we're gonna continue to keep bringing you guys content. Honestly, just very appreciative and really do enjoy making this stuff for you guys. We hope you love it too. And yeah, we just love all of our supporters and hopefully we can continue making this stuff for you. But that's my spiel, man. Love everybody. Love you. Love our viewers. What do you think about movies and stuff in 2022, bud?
I mean, I back everything you said. I am excited for 2023. Curious to see what's going to happen with Warner Brothers and DC as a whole. Yeah, obviously this year you had the Scoob sequel, Batgirl get canceled, tax write-offs
Yeah.
after like being at least 3/4 of the way done. I think Scoob was like done, and Batgirl was like they were doing some reshoots and stuff. But projects just kind of ripped from artists and taken away, so no one can ever see or appreciate them, and that's a little bit sad. Luckily, I think movies are as a whole in a better place than Warner Brothers is. It's not reflective of the entire society. We are entering an interesting place of streamers where it's like every studio has their own streamer, and for the most part outside of Sony, they're really just pushing to Netflix when they want to. But these streamers are really just kind of adding up to be cable. How do people pay for movies when streamers aren't necessarily the most profitable products? Disney obviously had some monetary issues as well this year. The box office, though, however, is booming to a certain degree. Avatar: The Way of Water and Top Gun have proved that, at least at the highest degree. You can have movies like that. Paramount made Babylon for 70 million or whatever dollars, and it only made 10. Well, the good thing is Paramount also made Top Gun Maverick, so they can use the $1.5 billion it made and give some money to some filmmakers to continue making their passion projects. And Babylon, which we haven't really even talked about, you haven't seen, right?
Not
It
yet.
takes some big swings, and it'll be interesting to see in the next 10 years if Babylon is, a period or a comma in that kind of filmmaking. So we will see. I'm excited for the future of movies. I'm excited to continue to see new movies in theaters. This year, I probably saw the most movies in theater. I saw probably more movies in theaters this year than I have in my entire life combined. I'm excited to continue to do that, to just watch new stuff, to experience old stuff. I don't know if I'm going to live in New Jersey or outside of New York City for the rest of my life, but I think I'll always remember this time as, hopefully when I'm older, I can think back to getting to travel to New York and see the New York Film Festival and get to see all these director Q&As and, just kind of, I want to appreciate that now as well as, appreciate it down the road. So 2023 should be fun. Kody, any big goals for movie watching or in general in 2023? Personally, for me, I think this podcasting space is going to get bigger, maybe with some new shows. Maybe I don't know. I think there's going to be some cool stuff to happen in 2023 here on the KHAP feed. But
Absolutely.
what about you? What do you want in 2023, Kody?
I mean, cap wise, just continue to expand what we're doing. I think obviously always trying to improve. That seems to be what we're doing season to season here, and obviously keep that up. Movie watching wise, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I definitely want to push more and more theater experiences, more and more movies, and I don't know. It's kind of been what I've been doing the past couple months. I've been trying to watch a new movie every day. Obviously, people are busy. I'm busy. You always got crap going on. But just like sitting down for, a couple hours and experiencing something new, I mean, there's nothing like it. And it's something I want to continue to try and do more and more. So really just watch as much, content as I can.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think at the end of last year, I wanted to be a little bit more purposeful with the things I was watching. I think I did set 300 as a number I'd like to get to. I think I got officially 330 according to my letterbox. There was a couple short films I watched, like the 5 Groot shorts as well as the Grogu short, and then like maybe one or two Oscar shorts. So like in terms of feature length, I want to say I was probably in like the 310, 315 realm, which is a good number. I would be okay with taking a step back a little bit as long as I'm being more purposeful. Like I said, I want to see more international cinema and I want to see more old cinema. The first step that I'm going to take to kind of continue the education, though, is my goal is to watch all Best Picture winners by the end of 2023, and that's something that I think is achievable because there's about I think 90 of them, so I can make that happen. And
Have
I've seen
you seen
like 10
Crash?
already. So
Have
have
you
I
seen
seen
Crash?
Crash? I have not, but I'll watch it.
Yes, skip that one.
Yeah, I will watch it though. So screw you, Kody.
Well, I do look for that review just because it's an interesting film. But that's cool. Yeah, get to watch The Departed again too. I mean, you haven't seen Shape of Water. We found that out last episode. So yeah, I think that's a great goal.
Thank you. All right. Well, that was 2022 in review. Any final thoughts for the people, Kody?
No, I don't think so. Like I said, appreciate you guys. Continue reaching out. But yeah, really fun year in movies, and hopefully we keep it going into the new year.
Excited to have you all as guests in 2023. If you're listening, let us know.
Absolutely. Stay capping, folks.
Peace.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.